Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight. It's truly an honor and a blessing to welcome you to this meeting of the Arlington branch of the NAACP. Whether you're a longstanding member or a first-time guest, we thank you for joining us for the ongoing work of justice, advocacy, and transformation. We gather tonight at a critical time in the life of our nation. From the rise in hate crimes to ongoing voter suppression, from housing instability to the erosion of civil rights protection, we are witnessing challenges that threaten the very fabric of democracy and dignity in America. And yet, friends, we are not without hope. In the face of injustice, we organize. In the face of fear, we lift our voices. In the face of division, we unite for the common good. This is what the NAACP has done for over a century, and this is what we will continue to do right here in Arlington. I'm incredibly proud of the work that this branch is doing, standing on the front lines for equity, education, economic empowerment, and criminal justice reform. To every member, committee chair, volunteer, and community partner, I pause to thank you for your time, your gifts, your prayers, and your persistence. Tonight, as we begin, let's pause and center ourselves in the power of our collective faith. Let us pray. Spirit of justice, we come before you tonight with open hearts and determined minds. We thank you for the opportunity to gather, to reflect, and to take action. As we navigate through the many storms surrounding our communities and our country, we ask for your grace, your wisdom, and your peace. Grant us the courage to speak truth to power, the patience to listen deeply, the strength to endure the work, and the compassion to see the humanity in every soul. Bless this branch, its members, its leaders, its mission. Bless every person who gives their time, their voice, and their love to the cause of equity and justice. Bless those who are weary, those who are hurting, and those who feel unseen. Let them know that they are not forgotten. And as we begin tonight's work, we pray that your presence will guide every word, every vote, every plan, and every step forward. In your holy and loving name we pray. Amen. And friends, tonight we say, let the work begin and let justice roll down like waters. Again, thank you for being here tonight. As is customary with our branch, we do have a speaker tonight as well that will share with us, which means we deviate from the normal procedure and agenda that has been established through national. And so we do want to start tonight and ask for an amendment to our agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second tonight?
Seconded.
Properly moved and seconded. Are we ready for the question?
Yes.
All those who are in favor, be it known by saying aye or raising your hand virtually tonight.
Aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose have the same right. The ayes have it. Thank you so very much. Madam Secretary, are we ready tonight for our roll call?
We are.
Okay.
President Davis,
Present.
First VP Tia Alfred,
Present.
Secretary McSweeney, I'm here. Treasurer Karen Nightingale,
Present.
Assistant Treasurer Adriana Spain,
Present.
At-Large Member Laura Saul Edwards,
Present.
At-Large Member Whitney Kernodle, At-Large Member Kellen Macbeth, At-Large Member James Younger,
Present.
Communications Chair Leah Matterall is on vacation, I know. Education Chair Tia Alfred is here.
Present.
Legal Redress Amy Stitzel,
Present.
Political Action Jean Marie Benya,
Present.
and Scholarship Committee Whitney Kernodle. And that concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We are ready for the minutes, and they'll be followed by our financial report by our treasurer tonight.
All right, I will just pull up the minutes. And make them bigger. All right. These are the minutes from our general membership meeting from May 27th. We began the meeting at 7 p.m. with a call to order and opening prayer from Reverend Davis. We took the roll call, and this is the roll call. I won't necessarily go through it. And you're all seeing this, right? And then we reviewed the minutes from March 2025 and the April 2025 meetings. I read the minutes. There was a motion from Ms. Stitzel to approve the minutes, and Ms. Nightingale seconded the motion, and the motion passed with no nays or abstentions for the March 2025 minutes. Then the secretary read the minutes from the April 2025 meeting. Ms. Stitzel moved that the minutes be approved. Ms. Matterell seconded the motion, and the minutes from April 2025 were approved with no nays and no abstentions. We had a review of the financial report. Treasurer Nightingale reviewed the financial report for April 2025 at our May meeting. This was the beginning balance, and the ending balance was $16,205.94 for the operations budget of the operations account. For the reserves, it was $8,000, and for scholarships, it was $169,632.04. The secretary made the move that we accept the financial report. Ms. Matterell seconded the motion, and the motion passed unanimously. At the time, we had a call for committee reports, but we actually skipped them because the housing and scholarship chairs were not available at the meeting. We had a special program, which was a primary candidates forum, and Political Action Committee Chair, Jan-Marie Benya, served as the moderator for the evening. She introduced the candidates running for the county board seat, which were incumbent Takis Karantonis and challenger James DeVita. And the candidates opened with a statement, and then they answered questions through the question and answer period and provided closing remarks. Ms. Benya then turned to those running in the Virginia 1st District House delegate race, which were incumbent Patrick Hope, Arjun Shrikant, and Sean Epstein, and invited each to make an opening statement. There was a lot of question and answer, and then each candidate made a closing statement. President Davis reminded the attendees that the next general membership meeting would be held on Monday, June 23rd, which of course has since been changed, at 7 p.m. She also announced that the NAACP Arlington branch will host a picnic in July, and additional details will be forthcoming. President Davis closed the meeting with a prayer, and the meeting was adjourned at 8:47 p.m. And those are the minutes.
You've heard the minutes for this evening. What is our pleasure?
I move to accept the minutes. This is Amy. I second.
We're properly moving second. We ready for the question?
Ready.
All those who are in favor, be it known by saying aye or raising your virtual hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed have the same right. The ayes have it. And we thank our secretary for all of the work that she puts in. You only see a small portion of that work here at our meetings on a monthly basis, but we're grateful for all that she does. We also want to acknowledge tonight our treasurer and have our financial report placed on the screen.
President Davis, I'm going to ask your forbearance as I want to read something that the executive committee has put together. You were just mentioning thanks, and we'd like to give you some. As people here know, I believe, because we send out numerous emails about it, Pastor Davis was honored by her church, Callaway Church, last weekend. So we, the NAACP Arlington branch, authored by the members of our executive committee, gave a proclamation honoring Pastor Delicia Davis. And I'd like to just read it into the record. Whereas Pastor Davis has demonstrated unwavering commitment to justice, equity, and empowerment through her leadership with the NAACP Arlington branch and her service throughout the Arlington community, And whereas Pastor Davis has served with distinction as the past religious affairs chair, uplifting the moral and spiritual foundations of the civil rights movement, building bridges between faith and advocacy, and fostering unity across diverse congregations. And whereas, as current president of the NAACP Arlington branch, Pastor Davis has continued to champion civil rights, voter engagement, youth empowerment, and social justice, leading with integrity, wisdom, and compassion. And whereas her dedication to both ministry and community action in Arlington County, Virginia, exemplifies the best of servant leadership, inspiring countless individuals to engage in meaningful service and courageous action. And whereas Pastor Davis's tireless efforts have left an indelible mark on Arlington and beyond, advancing the cause of social justice and ensuring a more equitable future for all. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned, do hereby recognize and honor Pastor Delicia Davis for her exceptional leadership, her profound spiritual influence, and her enduring contributions to civil rights and community advocacy. Let this proclamation stand as a testament to her legacy and a symbol of our deep gratitude and respect. Presented the 22nd day of June, 2025, by the 2025 NAACP Arlington Branch Executive Committee.
Thank you so much, Madam Secretary. I'm honored that the Executive Committee took the time to put that together and for all of the sentiments that have been expressed. It sounds like I'm leaving you in that proclamation, but you're stuck with me for a little while. So, but I'm grateful to each and every one of you, all of those who are on the Executive Committee, those who are members of this branch, as well as friends that have assembled here tonight. The work that we do is not something that I do on my own. It is a collaborative effort that we work together for the upbuilding of this community here in Arlington. And I look forward to continuing to work with you in the days that are to come. All right, Madam Treasurer.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations, Pastor Davis. We're glad to hear that you're going to stick around with us for a while. Okay, this is our, excuse me, I'm sorry for a little hoarse for some reason. This is our May financial report that was presented and given to the Executive Committee and now to the complete body of the membership. Let's start with operations. We had a beginning balance of $16,205.94. Withdrawals and transfer outs for $2,128.48, giving us an ending balance of $14,077.46. Our reserves, I'll just go over that real quick and then I'll break down what operations were about, what's about. Reserves did not change, still $8,000 in our reserves, and our scholarships did not change, is $169,632.04. We toggle over to the expenses associated with thank you. So these were expenses that came out of our operating budget. These are our normal expenses. Outlook services, $138. These are our monthly expenses. Zoom services, $62.50. Mail distribution services, $100. Web services, $32.98. One different was the UUC of Arlington rental, $1,795. That was for our housing conference. However, we should see in the month of June, once we have been giving a donation back that will cover the cost of that. So that's why it was $2,000. Go to the bottom, Kathleen, 1 second. Let me just run it up again. $2,128.48. Sometimes doing these particular reports, depending on when the month ends, you may see some duplicate numbers come out for our GoDaddy and multiple things if they cross over. Otherwise, that is the financial report. Are there any questions or concerns? Turn it back over to you, Madam President.
All right, we have heard our financial report for this month. What is our pleasure?
I move to accept the report.
I'll second it.
Motion, or Kathleen, this is Amy.
Okay, it sounded like there were two people. If you could say your names.
Amy Stitzel.
And Kathleen McSweeney.
Thank you. Properly moved and second. Are we ready for the question? All those who are in favor, be it known by saying aye or raising your virtual hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed have the same right. The ayes have it. Thank you. And we thank our treasurer for the hard work that she does, both here for our meetings and in so many other areas for this branch of the NAACP. You will hear from her again this evening as we talk about both the cookout and the Freedom Fund banquet coming up. She works tirelessly, and we are grateful. And we also are grateful for our assistant treasurer who has still been working on many of our financial details as well, Miss Adriana Spain, and we're grateful for all of the work because our branch is able to meet certain qualifications and standards with the state as well as with national because of the work that you all do. So we all pause to say thank you this
Thank
evening.
you.
All right. In terms of a report from me, just want to highlight 5 things to share with you. The first thing, we were able to be co-host and join together with other community organizations and many people from the community for the Juneteenth celebration this year. It was a wonderful celebration. At the last minute, because of the weather, it was moved from being outdoors to indoors, but still very well attended. I believe everyone had a spirit of unity and just joy there. So grateful for that. It was spearheaded by Monique Bryant from Challenging Racism, and we look forward to discussions about what Juneteenth will look like for us in 2026. The other thing that we worked on collaboratively was the town hall meeting. The town hall meeting was held at Roberts Memorial United Methodist Church this past Saturday, and it was a group effort between Arlington branch, Alexandria branch, and Fairfax. And so there were a series of meetings leading up to that. It was represented by elected leaders from each one of our areas and Congressman Byer. The leader from our area is our own J.D. Spain, and he shared eloquently that evening, and it really inspired many of us that day. And so we're grateful to those from our branch who were a part of that conversation and those who helped to support it. Our branch did help with the finances to support that as well. The refreshments that evening were bought by the Alexandria branch, and then Arlington and Fairfax split the costs of the armed security that were necessary for Congressman Byer. And so it lets us know it's even with our branches, it's all a joint effort. We are all working together on this. Number 3, I have attended the trainings for our national as well as meetings for our state in the last 2 months, and plan to attend our national convention that will take place next month, which next month is actually tomorrow. And so in 2 weeks, I will attend, and also our secretary and our treasurer are planning to be there to represent this branch in Charlotte, North Carolina. The last thing that I want to bring up to you tonight is our cookout. We wanted to make sure that all of our members and friends could come together during the course of this summer. And so we are going to do so on the 27th of July, which is a Sunday afternoon. And we're going to go to Lubber Run Park. And so we asked that everyone would sign up in advance just so we have a good number of who's going to be there. The branch is going to provide the main cuisine, but you are welcome to bring a side dish or a dessert for that day. And I'm going to yield now to our treasurer who will share more details with you about that. And then we'll go into our committee updates, followed by our presentation tonight on Juneteenth.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Yes, not a lot else to say about that. There will be forthcoming information, so please stay tuned to all the social media, our emails, and everything else about signage and signing up for it. It is at Lubber Run. It is approved through the county, so we do have a actual picnic area. We have a pavilion, and the time is 2 to 5, I think it is. And we will also be sending out some information for those who would like to help with setup and breakdown. You know, those are the things we always need to have, set up and breakdown. So we will have those things coming forth within the next couple of days. Just stay tuned. But we're excited about it. We're asking everyone to come out and join us, sign up, let us know so we can have enough of food and fun for everyone. So please come out and join us on the 27th of July. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
At this point, we're going to have our committee updates. And so we're going to begin with legal redress, followed by political action, education, membership, Freedom Fund, housing, and scholarship. I ask that each one of our committee chairs take 2 to 3 minutes in sharing this evening, and then we will turn it over to our speaker for our history of Juneteenth. So let's begin now with legal redress.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We are continuing to take complaints from the community on discrimination issues. In addition, we plan to have hopefully next month or one of the next meetings, an update from the Community Advisory Group, which is a community group that's advising the Arlington County Sheriff's Office. In addition, we hope to finally settle on a date for our town hall on how to prevent arrests for nuisance crimes, part 2. And there'll be some more details coming out about that. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Bearing no questions, we will move on to political action at this time, and we're grateful for the work of legal redress.
Hi, good evening, everyone. For political action, last month we held the candidate forum. So we're really grateful to the candidates for participating in that event, and also to all of our members and community members who attended and engaged as well. We really thank you. We are also continuing our voter engagement work. So right now we have tabled events that are happening every week at the Green Valley Farmers Market. So if you're interested in helping us out with those tables, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll connect you to our voter engagement lead. And then we also have other tabled events and things that we're planning to do with affordable housing in Arlington. So again, many volunteer opportunities are going to be available, and we need as many people as possible to support. So please reach out to me, or just be on the lookout for those opportunities to sign up and help us out. But that is it on our end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you and your committee continue to do for us. This evening, we're going to turn it over now to our first vice president, who is also our education chair.
Okay, sorry, I'm out with my children, so a little loud. I don't have much to offer for education committee this month. We're continuing as usual, working with APS to just ensure we have equity for our employees, teachers, and students, and still working with them to make sure they stay on the straight and narrow with regard to that.
Thank you. And did you want to talk about the school supply drive?
Yes, that I actually was at the Columbia Pipe Blues Festival and saw the Drew PTA had a booth. And so I spoke with the PTA president and asked them if they wanted us to help with their efforts. So we do have the link in the chat, and we also had it posted on our email if you'd like to contribute, because Drew definitely has a need for school supplies. They said like 80% of their kids didn't have what they needed when school started last year. And also, I did speak with APS about that and asked if they could start a community closet where they can have supplies and meet needs of any school student that might need something in APS. And so they would like to work with us to develop that and maybe get something going for the fall.
That sounds wonderful. Please keep us updated. All right, now we'll hear from Madam Secretary about the membership committee.
Hello again, everybody. Yes, we did have our first summer social on June 18th. We were ushering in the celebration for Juneteenth, and we had it at Bethel Cafe. We had about 15 people in attendance, but we had a great conversation. The food is also excellent if you ever want to try Bethel Cafe. We are concentrating on meeting in Black-owned businesses throughout Arlington. And so that was our first one this year. And I will say we got 3 new members out of it. They had a great time, good conversation, and so we'll continue to do that. We won't do one in July because, of course, we want everybody to come to our cookout. But we will send something and plan something for August. And that's my report.
Thank you so very much, Madam Secretary. Now we'll hear from our treasurer about our Freedom Fund banquet.
Thank you again. And so yeah, we're super excited about the Freedom Fund banquet. We're getting started really early this year. If the Madam Secretary could bring up the actual theme that we came up with. We met, and I'll talk a little bit about it. We had a meeting last week to get those people that were involved, had said they were interested. So we have a committee starting, and we've been adding people along the way. Our vice chair, she wants to attend. Tia, some other people have joined. Laura, so we have a great group of people coming forward. We have a theme picked out. This is very important because the theme of the Freedom Fund banquet leads into all of the signage and all of the communication and everything else. So that's the first thing you need to pick out. We will then work exclusively with the executive committee to make sure that we have everything aligned for our ticket purchasing, ticket prices and how we're going to do different things. But it's going to be, again, October 4th, 2025, George Mason University, 7 p.m. Doors are going to open for VIP reception at 6. Doors opening, flooding in, hopefully by 6:45. We're going to have a lot of different things this year, but we're going to try to condense our program to make it streamlined so that we can get all of our wonderful people in and wonderful people out. So we're excited about it. And anyone and everyone, membership, anyone who would like to join the committee, please let us know. We have also started the communication for awards. We wanted to do that early. So that was also incredibly important for us to get the theme together. But we're putting out to the community. If you know someone who has done some wonderful and exciting things in Arlington, please, please, please nominate them for an awards. And all that information has gone out through our normal channels of association out to the membership. So, Madam Secretary, do you have the theme ready?
Oops, sorry. I can stick it in the chat. I did not, was not prepared for that, but I will.
That's okay. Just stick it in the chat. And I don't. The only reason I don't want to. I don't want it to like. I wanted you to see it, so I didn't want to say it. So we're gonna throw it out of the chat. But Madam Secretary, can you tell them what the theme is?
It is Glow Unapologetically, Embracing Black Excellence.
So we are excited about that, and we're going to build everything around that. So you'll see more coming forth, but we won't have a 4 to 6 week thing coming out. We will definitely have it 4 or 5 months out, so everybody will be informed. Everybody will know what's going on, and it's going to be one of our best events coming forth. So we're excited about it. For some reason, I'm the chairman again, so I need many co-chairs as possible, and so I can ease back in the background. I don't have to be in the spotlight. But again, this is our branch, our Freedom Fund banquet, so we're excited. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam Chair, I said excellence, but it is actually embracing Black brilliance.
Brilliance, yes.
We can celebrate both brilliance and excellence. I think
it's brilliance, yes, and we're going to play on some words that are glow and brilliance, but we'll work those. You'll see more signage and more things to come.
Thank you very much for the work that you're doing already. And everyone, we encourage you to submit any names that you have for nominations at this point. And we look forward to you getting your tickets real soon. As soon as the link goes out, we know we're going to sell out this year. And we look forward to that. We're going to prepare ourselves for our presentation, but just before we do so, we do want to give a moment for those who are our elected leaders to share with us tonight. The elected leader that I see on my screen is the Honorable Julius D. Spain. And so we do ask that you would greet our branch tonight.
Well, Madam President, you put me in a situation here. It's great to be in this space again with like-minded advocates and allies and continue to do great things on behalf of the NAACP. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you, and thank you for representing our branch as well in the town hall on Saturday. We know we can depend upon you, and we're grateful that you continue to serve in whatever capacity the NAACP has asked. Thank you. All right, tonight we're going to talk about the significance of Juneteenth for us as people who are working together for justice and equity here in Arlington. So we're going to look at the history as well as common day significance. Our speaker for tonight is the Reverend Amari Hooker, who is a friend of mine, and JD will love this. He is from South Carolina. Reverend Hooker is a preacher. He is a scholar. He is an author. He is a father and a grandfather. And he serves God so very well and loves to inspire others. He is a graduate of Methodist College in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And he also has a Master's of Divinity from Gammon Theological Seminary, which is a part of the Interdenominational Theological Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Currently, he is serving in South Carolina, and he was at a church in Lake City, and now he is serving as a consultant and helping all of the churches in that area. Tonight, he is pitching in for us. Our speaker that we were supposed to have this evening was hospitalized last week and went back to the hospital in the last 24 hours. And so Reverend Hooker has made himself available to share with us his expertise on this topic. And we are so very grateful to have him, my friend, and my brother. Reverend Hooker, please share with the Arlington NAACP.
Amen. Thank you all for having me. I think somebody was going to make my screen available to share, if at all possible.
It is made possible now.
Oh, great. And my intentions with you all is to basically give just an overview of Juneteenth and allow some discussions for questions, because I think that would be more relevant than trying to hear me prognosticate on all the things Juneteenth especially. One of the things I do want to do is let you all know that on the East Coast, a lot of us were not familiar with Juneteenth until in recent years. So I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, you all have been keeping this great secret and no one has ever informed us of it. It's really something that a lot of us are really getting used to and getting familiar with, even parts of the NAACP. So just want to jump into it. One of the things I want to jump into is the reflection of the general order that comes to folk who think they're still enslaved. And it reads simply, General Order number 3, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executives of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of persons, rights, and the rights of property between former masters and slaves. And the connection here to 4 existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. And I find this really dramatic, the way it's worded, because in the preaching me, it reminds me of the prophet Isaiah when it tells us that the Spirit of God is on the one who proclaims good news to the poor, binds up the brokenhearted, and hear this part right here, proclaims freedom to the captives. And if you ask yourself what is at the heart of Juneteenth, then that's it. To proclaim freedom to those that are captive. I want you to keep that in mind as you do anything with Juneteenth, that becomes the point of origin for any celebration. Um, as we hear the words again, proclaim slavery shall be held captive in Texas in 1865. That's fascinating because some of you will begin to scratch your head and say, well, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed 2.5 years earlier. Why is it that Texas didn't get the word? Well, this was somewhat intentional. It wasn't just that mail was moving slow, but it was somewhat intentional. And I don't want you to over glorify the fact that it just took the mail 2 years longer. There were still fights and skirmishes going on with the war. And when the general comes in to proclaim this Narvik Declaration number 3, it was an armed proclamation. There were still guns drawn, and there were still skirmishes amongst persons refusing the understanding of slavery. So I don't want you to think that this was just sometimes when we commercialize things, we make it seem a little simpler than it was. One of the things, the discussions that I always get, if you got the 4th of July, why do you need Juneteenth? And I really take it to understanding that Juneteenth really helps solidify the 4th of July. If the 4th of July is really about American freedom, then until you begin to embrace Juneteenth, you really can't celebrate freedom, because what kind of freedom is it if all aren't free? So I really think that Juneteenth helps to bring the 4th of July celebrations full course and say, okay, now we have a full understanding of what celebration is really about. I still on that main thing that Juneteenth does is proclaims a release to the captives, and I think you don't want to miss that. God's story is always about freedom. And Jesus proclaimed liberation at the core of his ministry. And Juneteenth reminds us of our call to resist systematic oppression. I think that does that more than even the 4th of July, because Juneteenth reminds us that even when we are set free on paper, if the freedom is not made practical, some people will be in bondage and free on paper, but still in bondage. So just want to let you all know that's where that is and where we continue with. Okay. Why the church and community must celebrate Juneteenth as more than just a cultural observance, it's a spiritual reckoning. I like that terminology because I think Juneteenth really does help us to deal with our deep dwelling imbalances in a spiritual way. It honors the memory of the slaves as an act of sacred remembrance. I don't want you to miss that. Juneteenth also does something that we may not think so much of on the 4th of July. It encourages lament, truth telling, and communal healing. If I'm going to celebrate Juneteenth, if I'm going to celebrate and then one of the things I really need to lift up is this whole area of communal healing and how that works. Build spiritual resistance in the face of historical trauma. Don't want to miss that. You got to understand that historical trauma is still something we're dealing with. Even today, some of us get rubbed the wrong way when we talk about Juneteenth, because a lot of African Americans knew nothing of Juneteenth. A lot of Mexican Americans knew nothing of Juneteenth. A lot of Hispanic Americans knew nothing of Juneteenth. A lot of folk, I like to divide it up between the East Coast and the West Coast, is really primarily a Texas holiday, because what we really find out is Juneteenth kind of started in the West, in Texas, and moves from there. I'll get back to it a little bit. Um, you all don't know me that well, but anytime I do anything, I got to talk about food. I'm an eater. I'm a foodie. And one of the things that just jumps at me about Juneteenth is it has some of the traditional food fare, but one of the things that really makes Juneteenth distinct is the color red. And in a good Juneteenth celebration, you'll see red drinks and red waters and red sodas and red punches, and watermelon and red velvet cupcakes. I always tell folk it ain't a Juneteenth celebration if there's no red velvet cupcakes. Red rice, red beans. The red, as Dr. Greg Carr at Howard says, symbolizes the blood of the ancestors shared in slavery, and our celebrations must really follow and keep with that. I heard in your minutes you all finished at 45 after last meeting, so I'm going to continue on, but I will leave some time for questions. Practical significance of Juneteenth today. I mentioned generational trauma, systematic delays in justice. Um, hadn't the NAACP always fought for those systematic delays in justice when a crime is clear, but it's not until the lawyers and the civil defendants get into the courtroom that we really see justice come, and it can be years down the road. Counteracts historical erasure. Um, isn't this the time where books are being banned, where libraries are being closed, where truth is being corrupted, that we should have a holiday that celebrates correcting and educational inadequacies? Um, Connects past struggle with current movement for justice. Oh, I did want to share this. This quote from MLK: "We must learn somehow to live with each other in peace. The choice is chaos or community." To celebrate Juneteenth, I think, is once again a choice between chaos and community. When we choose celebrating Juneteenth, we choose community over chaos. Want to move just a little bit faster. I don't want to lose. Ways to use Juneteenth. Um, Culturally relevant celebrations. Organize, educate, and activate communities around the holiday. Use Juneteenth as a strategic tool to combat voter suppression, economic injustice. Um, Y'all have to look this up on yourself. Al Edwards and Opal Lee were some of the proponents of the state holidays for Juneteenth when it comes to Al Edwards. And then Opal Lee was that young woman who, in her senior years, traveled across the country to DC to help to make Juneteenth a real concern for the country. And she um, continues to be in the minds and hearts of those that celebrate the holiday. Um, Something else I would just point to this branch of NAACP. When you celebrate Juneteenth, you might want to consider the worldwide victims of modern slavery. Because if Juneteenth is really about setting the captives free, then you don't want to neglect that ability to tie into your celebration something dealing with human trafficking, something dealing with modern day slavery, because many persons think that slavery is just a thing of the past. And we know globally that slavery is still active in many places across the globe. And some would even say with the prison of, for the school to prison pipeline, even in this country. I live in an area of South Carolina where we have two federal prisons, and we have folk making computers with advanced microchips for 17 and 18 cents an hour. Um, Partner with churches and schools and local governments, encourage interfaith services, freedom festivals, promote voter registration, health equity, and economic justice programs. And always, like any celebration with NAACP or any other organization, invest in youth. Um, Oh, you all may want to, NAACP may also want to collaborate with HBCUs, seminaries, local churches, create resources for liturgy, and reclaim the public square. Oftentimes we go to churches and other places, but Juneteenth is one of those public federal holidays as of 2021 where I would think seriously about reclaiming a public space, maybe a Senate House, maybe a Capitol building, some public space where these things could happen. Juneteenth is celebrated in the middle of the summer. I believe you all folk up in Arlington don't really like that heat that much. Take the whole cookout inside. You would enjoy that. Um, Final words is Juneteenth quote from Zan Holmes, who's one of my favorite preachers. I'm a preacher buff. Juneteenth, one of the oldest American holidays that celebrates the end of slavery. I think that's key. What is Juneteenth really celebrating? I know a lot of us love to say American independence, but I like to frame that a different way and say it's really celebrating the end of slavery. And when you do it that way, you understand Juneteenth more as not just a holiday, but a sacred task. It's not just a day off, it's a day that the work continues. Uh, and these resources, I'll send them to you, but I'm sure you all are aware of. Okay, that's what I had on the presentation. I would take questions, even though I know your time is precious.
We still have time.
So any questions? Anybody?
I have a question. Pastor Davis, may I ask the question?
Yes, please do.
Sure. Well, one, I'm from Conway, Reverend Hooker, just to let you know. And I know about Lake City, and I also know about the mosquitoes in Lake City. So look, thank you for being with us. And thank you for your overview on Juneteenth. I just want to ask you a question from maybe you can tie in a spiritual side of this. You know, for the first time in many years, and knowing that Juneteenth has not been around or celebrated, the White House did not proclaim or recognize Juneteenth this year. What do you think is going on?
I think it's a part of this erasure of history. You know, and we have to be very cautious of that and aware of it. You know, what happens when you start to erase people's history is you start to erase the trauma and the experiences that they went through. You know, Juneteenth, like Memorial Day, Juneteenth, like Easter, Juneteenth celebrates the understanding that people have persevered in trauma and death and sickness and hardship and been mistreated. And if we don't lift up the mistreatment of individuals in the past, it makes it much easier to allow the mistreatment of individuals in the present. And I think the White House or the current administration, because I don't blame the House for anything, but I think the current administration is intentionally trying to rid itself of some of the past trauma and drama in our American existence so that it makes it much easier to go forward, putting forth pain and drama. We were on a live today with members of the um, Poor People's Campaign and Repairs of the Breach over in DC. And one of the things that just keeps reminding me is that if we don't tell the truth and tell the story of the oppressed, then it makes it much easier to oppress more. So I hope that helps to answer your question just a little bit.
That does help answer my question, and I think there's some deeper aspects of where we are, um, and I will chalk these up to be systematic because it's not just happening. You know, the erasure or of just history, Black history is American history. that's been going on for a number of years in a very slow, deliberate, but methodical way. And you can look at, whether it's McGraw-Hill or other folks and other public education outlets that have in states that are again intentionally not wanting to teach not only Black history, but Native American history, Asian American history. And so I think Juneteenth, though it's a day and time that we all should celebrate and remind ourselves of what had occurred, there's a lot more at stake. So thank you for your time, and I think we just need to keep our heads on the swivel and remain vigilant. So thank you very much, Reverend.
Sure, no problem. If you notice on my screen background, there's one of my books, My Banned Black History Sermons. And part of what happened with that was I literally had sermons taken off of a sermon site, very popular sermon site, because they made reference to a God of justice and a God of liberation and a God moving forward. So no, it's not just happening with the erasure of Juneteenth and this celebration. We're being erased and our books are being banned all over the place. Are there other questions that I might be able to discuss
Mervin,
with
there
you all?
are two that were sent in the chat. One of them is, why is it important for non-Black communities to understand and honor Juneteenth?
Oh, great question. Um, some of you all may have noticed I'm a pastor in South Carolina. I'm a United Methodist pastor. And one of the things that really caught me off guard was when our church, our denomination said we had to lift up and celebrate Juneteenth because it allows us to build bridges one to another and understand our collective history as a people. And I think all racial groups and all ethnic groups need to lift up Juneteenth because it's one of those celebrations that allows us to tie in both pain and celebration. And we need to learn as a country that we can cry together as well as celebrate together. And until we really learn what it means to weep together and mourn together, but also to find joy together in celebration, I think our country will continue to be divided. You say there was another question in
Yes,
there?
the other question, how have our elders and ancestors preserved the spirit of Juneteenth in their own way?
Okay, so I made reference briefly to the West Coast and the East Coast divide for Juneteenth. If you were from Texas and several parts of Texas, you grew up celebrating Juneteenth. You grew up in the festivities of Juneteenth. And what really makes it crazy is a lot of us on the East Coast and a lot of African Americans are just hearing about Juneteenth. First of all, Juneteenth being recognized in Texas in 1979, it took years to come across the country. For years, state by state, we're adding and celebrating Juneteenth one by one by one until we got to 2021 when it became a federal holiday. That saying, many elders dropped the ball. There were not celebrations in many places of Juneteenth, but there was a celebration of that spirit of resistance, that celebration of that spirit of overcoming and knowing how to overcome slavery. And, my joy is that the elders in the community, when you start singing the Juneteenth songs and start having the festivals, they are really welcoming of anything that leads to a unity spirit of celebration. It really reminds me of that question of, going back to, you know, what is the 4th of July to the slave? It really pushes it forward to ask, what is Juneteenth to the American? And in my mind, Juneteenth to the American is an acknowledgement of what we've done wrong and a celebration of what we can do right across the board.
Looks like we have a question from the secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Reverend Hooker. I think you gave some. I was writing furiously because I was trying to, get some of the quotes that you mentioned, but I think you did a really great job of giving us all sorts of ideas of how we can, build on our celebration next year and the year after. I'm just curious, how did you celebrate your Juneteenth, and with whom did you celebrate it this year?
Oh, buddy. Juneteenth has, in the last few years, fallen in the middle of our vacation Bible school at our church. And we have put together a curriculum that does looks at the movie Roots, the original Roots, and begins to inform and teach the young children in Vacation Bible School about some of the perils and understandings of slavery in general. And we also wrote our congressmen and legislators, as my little children often do in Vacation Bible School. They wrote their legislators, and they also created protest signs for our local Lake City Juneteenth parade that we had that Saturday. So we had quite a bit of celebration for Juneteenth this year, and I had a wonderful Juneteenth celebration.
Thank you for letting us know that, and we look forward to. And thank you so much for everything you've shared with us and being here tonight.
All right. Laura Edwards and then Alice.
Thank you. And thank you for the really fantastic and informative overview of the history of Juneteenth and telling us how you celebrated it. I'm wondering if you're seeing if there is interfaith celebrations of Juneteenth and if that's something that's growing, because it strikes me that this is a really wonderful opportunity for interfaith connection and cooperation.
Well, I would be amiss if I didn't say that part of the curriculum for the Freedom School program with Children Defense Fund highlights and lifts up Juneteenth, and part of the Children's Sabbath also one of the litanies in the Children's Sabbath continues to lift up Juneteenth. Why do I know that? Because I wrote that one. But there are many interfaith connections with Juneteenth. Um, I will send Reverend Davis, Dr. Davis, the PowerPoint presentation at the end of my PowerPoint slides with some further resources. In those further resources are some litanies and liturgy that can be used for community organizations and churches that can lift up what's going on around the globe and how we continue to move and are motivated. So yeah, there's plenty, both religious and civil, that are beginning to really do the spiritual side of Juneteenth. So I would just remind you of that.
Thank you.
Reverend Davis, it's Alice. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm just enjoying so much over the last couple of years, just learning more and more history through this celebration and others. And my question was, you mentioned the movie Roots, and I've been thinking about that movie a lot lately. So I just came up, just when it came up with you, I thought, ooh, let me ask. I watched that as a young girl, and it was, very upsetting, really hard to watch, but important. And it affected me forever. And I just, how movies over time change, our view of them changes so much with a whole nother generation. So since you mentioned it, I was just curious your thought on it. I haven't watched it in decades. Do you feel like it was, generally speaking, a good, accurate presentation, or do you think it's dated now and we should look to other resources to teach our children?
Oh, I knew if I stayed on long enough, I would get the hard question. No. One of the things is I think there are really significant sections of the Roots documentary, and the fact that it went forth and Alex Haley sent it forth really makes it valuable for any setting, any educational setting. It was hard to watch. And one of the things I've discovered using in Vacation Bible School, and we only used about 3 2-minute segments, but using it in Vacation Bible School is still hard to watch for a lot of our children today, and maybe even more so because a lot of children today are not aware of some of the graphic nature of racism and slavery. However, that's a good reason to use it because it does become an eye opener. I was raised watching Roots. I was raised watching a lot of slavery narratives as well as some traditional movies on racism in this country. And they were never fun and they were never enjoyable, but they taught us a lot. So I think we need to bring back some of these old documentaries and docuserves so that younger children can see what it is we refuse to teach them.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Are there any other questions?
Actually, if there's time, not a question, but a comment. When Alice mentioned Roots, that reminded me, I'm sorry, that's my dog. Roots, I also watched that the first time it was on television, and I was middle schooler, and it was very eye-opening. It was painful, it was hard. And it also led me to re-examining many of the movies I'd seen and seeing with new eyes, everything from like Gone with the Wind to old Shirley Temple movies or more modern movies in the 70s. It really was eye-opening in that way. But in the past couple of years, Roots was refilmed. I don't know if anyone saw the second version. I enjoy, well, I won't say enjoyed, but I will say that I thought was even better than the first version, just because it seemed a bit more accurate with details about Kunta Kinte's African upbringing. It was it was still very graphic and very hard, but if no one's seen it, it's out there and it's a really good refilming of the story.
Thank you for that. And JD?
I was gonna try to keep my mouth shut, but I want to tell Reverend Hooker that my mother and father are 75 and 73 years old, respectively. Again, Conway, South Carolina. And I'm gonna tell, they started finding out about Juneteenth only a few years ago. So what does that tell us on this call? That when I was growing up in South Carolina, places you're from, we were not taught Juneteenth in Horry County in my school system. Okay. And so I think the question about, roots and whether it's 12 years a slave or what, I think is now those folks need to really look at the context of those movies. If you don't understand your history, right, you're doomed to repeat it. Those movies like Roots, to your point, and even 12 Years a Slave, the context have some really deep messaging about African American history in America, and it's real. And I'm afraid that if we move too far away from it and kind of make Roots look a different way, and I mean, we really forget like what people had to endure, right? So again, this is new to a lot of folks, not just people who aren't African Americans. There are a lot of African Americans, to your point about East West, who still don't know all the context of Juneteenth. So grateful to the NAACP for having us tonight. There's still a lot more to learn and gain from this.
And I still get resistance in South Carolina, in rural South Carolina, from African American church members who
Yep.
don't want to face and deal with Juneteenth. But one of the things that I thought about just in this conversation is, one of the things that the administration and some of the groups that are wanting to ban books and close libraries says is that they don't want children exposed to the images and information that may make them sad because of the historical record and may upset them and cause them emotional distress. But if we don't rip off the scabs, and if we don't uncover some of the misinformation that young people of many multi races have been taught, then we are really doing humanity a disservice. it's time that the truth be told and the record be set straight. So I'm glad you all had this time. I wish more branches would do just this, have a real discussion on what Juneteenth really means and how they can move forward. And thank you all for having me. I enjoyed it. Today was a busy day. Like I said, we started off with some work doing with DC, and I even had a funeral scheduled, a wake service that I scheduled South Carolina style. So that means we had Elks, Masons, Eastern Stars, fraternity and sorority all to take part in the service, and I still made it back by 7. Bless you all.
Bless you, and thank you so very much, Reverend Hooker, for being here and for blessing us this evening. There were two questions that came up while Reverend Hooker was presenting or answering questions, and I want to ask if we would respond. You can respond in the chat. Tonight, the first one is, how did you celebrate Juneteenth? How did you celebrate Juneteenth? Please share with us in the chat. As you're writing, I celebrated Juneteenth with our community there at Wakefield. It was a wonderful program and got to uh, purchase a few things from vendors as well and get some good food. I see so many people are telling us how they celebrated Juneteenth. You must be still typing. With my 7-year-old grandson eating red food all day. All right. Sounds fun. At Wakefield, the festival Saturday in Alexandria, community event at Wakefield. Great. All right. And celebrated at Wakefield and picked up a number of great books to read, community event at Wakefield. All right. And the second question, what would you like our branch to do to be able to celebrate either next year or in the future? As you're typing that into the chat, I'm still reading at the community event at Wakefield and in Williamsburg. Okay. Oh, New York City Public Library had 2 books about Juneteenth. Okay. How would you like us to be able to celebrate in the future? I'd love if our branch engaged young community members in Juneteenth. Perfect. Wonder if we could share the slides next year, but find a way to share it more broadly in the county. Okay, great idea, Alice. Anyone else? Okay, a musical. That's a great idea. Okay, well, thank you all tonight. As we come to the close of this evening's meeting, I want to extend my deepest thanks to each and every one of you for your time, your presence, and your commitment to justice. A very special thank you to Reverend Hooker for the powerful and enlightening presentation on Juneteenth. Your words reminded us that not only our history, but the strength, the resilience, and sacred responsibility we all carry into the future. We are grateful. Friends, as you leave tonight, I want to encourage each of you to take the next step. Join a committee. Whether your passion is housing, education, criminal justice, youth engagement, or advocacy, there is a place for your gifts right here in our branch of the NAACP. Also, we're preparing for our presence at the Arlington County Fair in August and would love for you to help us represent the NAACP. So um, please sign up as soon as that list goes out from our secretary, or speak with a board member after this meeting to get involved. Just in case you didn't know, I always wait around after our meeting for any questions or comments that you have. We cannot do this work alone, friends. We need each other. We are stronger together. And when we bring what we have, our ideas, our voices, our time, and our prayers, we become a force for transformation in our community. So, again, I thank you for being part of the movement. And I invite you now to close with me in prayer. Loving and liberating God, we thank you for this sacred gathering where truth was spoken, history was honored, and purpose was renewed. We are grateful for every voice, every gift, and every heart that joined in the work of justice tonight. As we depart, we ask that you walk with us. Give us grace for the road ahead. Give us wisdom for the decisions before us. Give us peace in the midst of the noise around us. Bless the work of this branch, every committee, every volunteer, every act of advocacy. May our efforts ripple out to touch lives, shift policies, and change hearts. Bind us together across race, language, party, and background. Let us be reminders to the world that unity and love are still possible. And now, send us out with courage, vision, and hope. In your name we pray. Amen. My friends, thank you. Have a good night. And let's keep showing up and keep pressing forward together. Good evening. And if you'd like to say to ask a question or to share a comment, you are more than welcome to do so after the recording.
Good night.